Hello, welcome to Dungeon Dwellers Podcast. I'm your host Justin. Today we're reviewing the 1997 Spawn movie. The copy I have is the director's cut. It's from New Line Platinum Series, which this DVD is probably old as fuck because to get the special features you have to flip the disc, which is annoying. Yeah, so this movie I have a lot of fond memories with this movie. Every couple years, I'll watch it. Several times it was with my cousin, who's also a super fan of this movie. That's probably because he's a wigger and he loves he loves black superhero movies. He was a huge fan of Blade, so it wouldn't. So it's not a huge surprise that this is like his second favorite um, superhero movie. So this is directed by Mark A.Z Dippe, starring John Leguizamo, which I find that weird that he is top billing, but him as Violator, or also known as Clown, he did a great job. He's probably the best part of the movie, to be honest. You have Michael J. White as Spawn or Al Simmons, which he also does a great job. But I have some complaints we'll get into. Martin Sheen as Jason Wynn, and you have D.B Sweeney as Terry Fitzgerald, who was black in the comic book, but who gives a shit? He was okay in the movie. He was serviceable. If you don't know who D.B Sweeney is, he did a lot of TV stuff, some straight to DVD movies here and there. His best movie, or I should say, the only movie where he stars in is this movie called Fire in the Sky, which is supposed to be based off a true story. I don't know. I think it was a CIA psyop, but yeah, because they keep mentioning the movie that that movie's about alien abduction and where a bunch of loggers saw one of their friends get get abducted by aliens, and they keep mentioning, oh, they passed the fucking uh lie detector test 3 times, and it's like lie detector tests are mostly bullshit. If you watch The Wire, they go into detail about like how lie detector tests are basically bullshit. That's why it's inadmissible as evidence. They just use it as leverage in interrogation scenes to get people to confess. So if you didn't know lie detector tests were bullshit, now you know. So the movie, I thought it was great. It has its problems. Like the CGI is very dated and was kind of cheap and bad looking, even when this movie came out. Um, the acting here and there is is kind of bad at times. It has this very cartoony feel to the movie. Um, yeah, the Spawn costume itself, I thought the head for Spawn looked too big, kind of similar to like the Alec Baldwin's uh Alec Baldwin's movie where he played the Shadow, where that they have so much prosthetics on his face. His head looks almost like a bobblehead. You got the same problem here, and then like you can tell that in the costume that he can't turn his head. So there's like a scene where like Spawn is like like riding a motorcycle, and the guy has to go in a straight line because he can't turn his head. Which that scene where like the motorcycle chase, where like Violator's driving this 18 wheeler or whatever, and there's like this motorcycle chase was like I thought was super cool in the movie. Really, some really nice stunts. I wouldn't. Like you couldn't pay me enough to be that fucking stunt man in that scene. Like he must have been in so much danger. But the story for this movie is, and if you didn't know, this is based off the Tom McFarlane comic book. I already gone into it in the first take where I mentioned that Spawn is big was kind a lot not just this is not just my take, but a lot of people say that Spawn is a ripoff of Venom, which Todd McFarlane co-created and got famous for in the comic industry. So the story is, um, sorry, Michael J. White as Spawn or Al Simmons is this CIA Black Ops guy. He works for A6, which is run by Jason Wynn, played by Martin Sheen, who does an okay performance. Honestly, to me, like any movie that isn't Apocalypse Now, he kind of doesn't. I don't know. That's like the only movie I've seen him in where he does a great performance. Other movies than that, it's like it just looks like he's okay. Like that's just my opinion. Um, yeah. So like Al Simmons is the CIA Black Ops dude. You see him do a mission in the beginning of the movie where he does a lot of martial arts, which I thought was kind of like unnecessary, but you know they have to have Michael J. White show off his martial arts because he's a martial artist. So he blows up a plane at this airport, which had some I don't know terrorists or whatever. Who knows, right? Some leader of a foreign nation. Um, turn he finds out later that there were from his friend that there were like civilians around, so this pisses him off. Um, that pisses him off. So he goes to Jason Wynn. He's like, "I quit. Fuck you, bitch." like, uh, so he gets sent on this mission to destroy. Before he can quit, he has to do one last job. The last gig. Which, if you're a connoisseur of movie critiques, you know what the last job means. It means something goes wrong. Something always goes wrong. So he has to go on one last mission in North Korea where he has to blow up um, these canisters where they have this new biological weapon. He gets set up by Jason Wynn and his um, henchman Jessica Priest, which is, in my opinion, is a white woman version of Chapel. Uh, Chapel, who was a black uh, soldier and from the comic book, he was like this weird, psycho kind of mercenary dude. He's also in the cartoon. Um, so he so he gets set up by those two characters. He gets killed. He gets sent to hell, where he meets Malbolgia, which is like the Satan character in the Spawn comics. He gives Spawn a deal. Lead my army, and then you can see Wanda again. So he does it. So he gets resurrected back on Earth as the new Hellspawn, which there can only be one. Uh, which, according to the mythos of the comic book, there can only be one Hellspawn at a time. So like the story is not really in line with the comic books because he's supposed to lead the army, and like the if you look at the other soldiers, they also look like Hellspawn. Whatever. He gets resurrected back on Earth. He's a burn victim, which is that the prosthetics are super gross. And honestly, that's the reason, in my opinion, this movie got 18A rating, even though there's not a lot of swearing. There's no real ultra violence that isn't CGI anyway. There's not even a lot of deaths in the movie. Um, yeah. So so he comes back. He meets John Leguizamo as Violator, as the clown, who's a demon who's sent to overwatch. To watch over him to make sure he keeps up his end of the bargain. And then the movie basically after that is just uh, just him trying to get revenge on Jason Wynn, him him meeting this guy Caliestro, who was a previous Hellspawn who went rogue. I thought him as the mentor character was pretty cool. Uh, Michael J. White even makes this quip where he calls him Yoda. Yeah, there's a lot of cool action scenes in this movie. John Leguizamo as Violator is obviously the best part of the movie. There's even this scene where like he picks up this pizza from the trash that's covered in maggots and he eats it, and like that was like apparently that was improv. he actually he actually ate like a piece of pizza with maggots on it. Yeah. So I would say I really like this movie. It has its problems, like I mentioned with the bad CGI and everything. Uh, you have the cartoony parts. I almost wanted to give this movie a bad rating. Spoiler alert, because there's this dog named Spaz in the movie, and like I've only become a dog owner recently, so now since I became a dog owner, whenever I see dogs get killed in movies now, it fucking triggers the fuck out of me. After watching this movie, I had to go and hug my dog. That's how fucking emotional I was after watching this movie. Cause like Spaz is this very loyal dog. Um, he for people that don't know, if I didn't mention it, he comes back and Wanda marries his best friend, Terry Fitzgerald, played by D.B Sweeney. They have a kid named Cyan, who's like 5 years old. They his dog Spaz is still around, which he like used to joke. Spaz was a guard dog. Spaz is a very small dog. I don't know what kind of breed it is, but one point, Spaz leaves his current family to live with Spawn, and then there's a scene where like um, Spawn and Violator fight for the first time, and Spaz is trying to uh, help Spawn. Like you see him bite like his foot or whatever, and like the movie makes you think that Spaz is dead, and like and Al Simmons when he goes on that final mission to go and fight Violator for the last time, he gives like this homeless kid that he befriends in the movie, because there's a he Spawn um, his like home base in this movie is basically the alley where all the homeless people live. And here it looks like a huge part of the city. That's where you have the Todd McFarlane cameo scene, which goes on too long. He gives him like he like a piece of like Spaz's collar and says, find the rest of Spaz, whatever shape he's in, and give it back to me." So I was like, "Oh my god!" I feel like, could they not have shown that was them trying to say like he's really emotional over the death of his dog, and he's gonna go avenge him. Which, like, honestly, I didn't really get that feel from that take, but like, I don't know, dude. I that scene really fucked me up, dude. Sorry, I had to take a swig. Oh my god. But yeah, it turns out like Spaz was never killed, and then you see him at the end of the movie with his collar, even though it was shredded up. So I don't know what the fuck was that about. Like you see him at the end of the movie, and like Cagliostro's like holding him. And, so like that was fucking great, honestly. But like yeah, I would say the movie, it has its problems. It's not the greatest. Like I mentioned, you have the bad CGI. You have like these CGI like physical comedy jokes with with the clown John Leguizamo's character, where like nobody's reacting. There's reaction shots and nobody's reacting to how weird it was. So like it's like they didn't tell them like like how goofy um it was supposed to be. Like there's a scene where like his uh Violator's like eyes pop out of his head in front of the Terry Fitzgerald's family, and like the little girl's there, and like you have a reaction shot from all of them, and it's like there's like hardly any fucking reaction at all. So I thought that was So if I had to give this a rating, It's like a 6 out of 10. I would say it's worth watching once. All right.